This is probably going to be one of the more important videos that I've ever produced because I can't believe that the Pretendo community is really coming out and trying to do this because this is one of the most absurd things I think I've ever seen. I can't believe that the industry is rallying to try and destroy Star Fox by talking about the length because this was a joke going into this because I knew a lot of people who were like making tweets coming out and being like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of grifters saying the game is too short. Please ignore them. Uh, I suspected it was going to happen. I thought there would be some people, some trolls who would like finish the game once and then try and like denounce the game for that reason. But like, it really does feel as if a lot of people in the community are doing that. I saw Darkside Phil doing it. I saw Nintendo Land doing it. Oh, by the way, Nintendo Land doing this discredits his entire claim that he's a Star Fox fan. By the way, um, like the mindset of these people is that like, well, I beat the game once, so it's over. So I don't want to play it again. Oh, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, it like anybody who's ever played Star Fox 64 knows it that beating a level once isn't really the end. Okay. Like you are going to play these stages over and over again. You are going to learn more about them. You are going to like accomplish more things in them. Like they're fun to simply play. Okay, like the levels in Star Fox 64 are so tight and so endlessly replayable. You never really get tired of them. I've been playing this game for almost 30 years, right? So I know that better than pretty much anyone. But when you look at like the copes, when you look at like what people are doing, like when you look and see how the masses are just doing this weird thing where they're just kind of sitting there and they're just kind of like, yeah, this game is too short. It's outdated. People aren't going to get into this today. Like I've seen that so many times from these huge Star Fox fans. Like, oh, the game is too short and people won't play it. People won't understand it. Players today won't want to engage with it. And yet they are. Like the game has been a huge hit. People have been like really fired up about Star Fox. Like I've been seeing like, people hype up Star Fox all month, like it was like a huge major release and it's obviously been hugely successful. And yet you have a lot of people trying to concern troll and make it out to be as if this game was disappointing, right? Like, one of the things I keep saying is people complaining about this not being a new game. You saw DSP and you saw like Nintendo Land, like, oh man, like I wanted a completely new Star Fox game. Like, they say this when Nintendo came out and confirmed immediately that this was a remake of 64. Like you're complaining about something. Well, first of all, you're complaining about something Nintendo never promised they were going to do, but second of all, it's very obvious that we're going to get like an actual proper follow-up anyway. Like I pointed this out immediately is that like we got re-releases of Pikmin 3 and 1 and 2 before 4. We got like, Samus Returns before Dread, like it's kind of a common thing now for Nintendo to come out and just be like, yeah, we're gonna have a team remake an older game while producing the new one. Okay, it resells the game to younger audiences. It keeps people invested in the IP. They make a little bit of money, and then like in a couple of years they'll have the sequel out. So, like again, I really feel as if like the complaint that this game is a remake just doesn't really hold up under any kind of scrutiny because like kids born in the past like 20 years aren't going to be familiar with Star Fox at all. Okay, like a lot of people are like throwing around this idea that like, well, Star Fox 3D came out on the 3DS. Like, yeah, 15 years ago. Like, do you really think kids were playing Star Fox 3D at that point? Like again, it's a game that has stood the test of time. It stayed very, very relevant. It stayed very, very popular, but it's not necessarily like something that like younger audiences are familiar with, right? So this style of remake, especially hot on the heels of the Mario Galaxy movie, actually makes a whole lot of sense. And because like they didn't change a whole lot, the game maintains its original appeal, and the series has maintained its identity. Like with this one release, we've pretty much seen an end to all that coping from like weird fake fans on Twitter about how Star Fox Zero, the formula for that game was outdated, and that they need to make the game open world, and they need to like make it about, I don't know, like randomly going around collecting bounties or whatever. It's like, I keep seeing people have this weird idea that Star Fox, this rail shooter should be like this open world thing where Fox gets out of the cockpit and starts like exploring open environments. Like that's not something anybody wants. That's not something anyone wants to see. It's just one of those things that like it really feels as if a lot of these Star Fox fans don't understand the IP, and they don't really have any idea of what would be best for the franchise, because this release is the best possible thing they could have done for Star Fox right now. Okay, they did a great job like selling this to people, of remaking the game, of making it popular, bringing Star Fox back into the public eye, before they announced the sequel, right? It's something that I feel like needs to be addressed and studied, is that like Nintendo succeeded with Star Fox by doing exactly what the general public demanded they not do, because so many of these people were asking for Star Fox 64 to not be remade, not to be railroaded, not to be a rail shooter, not to follow like the 64 template. Like so many of them don't seem to understand Star Fox at all, and it's something that I think really does need to be pointed out, because so many of the criticisms of this game basically boil down to the fact that this is an IP that is not structured like other games. Like so many people seem to think that like the campaign mode and like the pathways and like the way the story plays out is outdated, it's stale, it can't sell itself to a modern audience, and yet from what I've seen, like the exact opposite is true, and like this is extremely popular with players today, and I feel like the Pretendos just don't really have their finger on the pulse. Like they don't really understand how people are actually feeling about this stuff. Like so many. Like I saw Nintendo Land like just now. He came out and he was like, "Oh man, I like this game a lot, but I've played this game already." Like most people haven't. You fucking retard. And besides, even if you have, the game offers plenty of new content to keep you invested. Like even if you have played the game already, it doesn't really work. Especially when you take into consideration we're going to be getting an entirely original Star Fox in the future. So like I don't even understand like what the complaint is supposed to be exactly, because I'm just happy to see the IP is doing well, that it's popular, that people are talking about it again, and that it's not been brushed under the rug like Zero was. Now Zero was way better than this, because that was an original game that really pushed the genre and the franchise forward in a big way. It was the true like return to form for the franchise that I had been wanting since 64. But like I feel as if the masses just don't understand that. They are gonna like fight to preserve like the narrative that Zero was like some disappointment and that nobody likes it, when I think it's safe to say that like going forward it'll be seen as like the gold standard when it comes to Star Fox games. It's way better than Assault, Adventures, Command. It's just kind of embarrassing. In fact, I would argue that like a Star Fox fan glazing Assault is like a red flag. Like if you like Assault, you're not a real Star Fox fan. Like not sorry about it. That's just the facts, bro. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Like seeing this game be as popular as it is, selling as much as it is, get as much hype as it is, and yet you're still seeing like a lot of these people like try and complain about it, like blatantly making things up in some cases. And I don't think it's going to survive Like, I think this has kind of established itself as like the major turning point for the Switch 2, where like you can't really write off um Nintendo games anymore. Like, so I do think the Switch 2 has proven itself. It was like the best selling console this year, I think. It's been like in the US, by the way. So like it's getting harder and harder to say that the Switch 2 needs to prove itself. So games like this, even if you like scream about it being a remake and how if you try and pretend Nintendo's out of ideas, like what about the new games they are making though? Is like that's just why the complaints about this being a remake don't work. Is that like, oh, Nintendo needs to do original stuff? Like, okay, why don't you play Pokopia or Tamagotchi or Yoshi and the Mysterious? You are not going to find a more original game than Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. There's like nothing like that out there anywhere. Okay. Like a completely original, unique experience. What happened? The industry tried to like downplay it. Okay. It was embarrassing to see that like so many people like try and keep up the facade, and I imagine it's going to fall apart immediately by November. I think what's going to happen is that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to come out, underwhelm people, and that's going to be when people understand like the Switch 2 has won the console war. Even if Grand Theft Auto 6 doesn't come to Switch 2, which I think is very, very possible. Uh, I think it's very, very possible that it will come to the console. It's not going to be able to destroy Nintendo. Like that's just the reality of it. That's just the slow kind of progression we've been seeing, where these third-party games are launching day and date. They're reasonably successful, while PlayStation and Xbox are selling less and less units and selling less and less games. It's Nintendo's won the console war, and yet we're still in that like weird phase where like people want to act like Nintendo's done something wrong or they're not competitive or that like it's embarrassing. We're gonna see in a big way how successful Star Fox on Switch 2 actually was. But like I do think, considering how popular this game has been and how much people have enjoyed it and how much enthusiasm there's been, like I don't have any patience for YouTubers speculating about how like normies are gonna receive this game. Because like, I saw Nintendo doing that, where he's just like, oh man, I was trying to explain the root system and how it's an arcade game to this guy, and he just wasn't getting it. Like, do you really think that people are gonna play Star Fox and like not eventually learn how the game works and not eventually like appreciate what makes it different than other games? Because it is a classic game for a reason. Okay, it's endured as an all-time classic for a reason. Like I find myself like very, very impatient with those who would try and argue that this game is some like underwhelming thing purely based on like vibes. Like so many people will come out and try and say this game is like a complete and total disaster, when in actuality it is probably one of the best things we will see out of Nintendo Switch 2 for a long time.